Hi, everybody. This is Noelle from Petitti Garden Centers, and we are working on a DIY, do it yourself, yeah, DIY project today. We are doing a pollinator container garden. My goodness. So, and we're having a lot of fun. Later in the season, after you get all of your annuals and perennials and things planted, it's nice because a lot of our pollinator plants come on, and this is something that we wanted to do for pollinator week. So usually third week in June, right around that point, it's a great time to, hey, plant a container for pollinators. So I kind of went through and planted this container quickly, but we'll go through all the steps with you today. And our whole goal again is attracting pollinators. So at this point, I don't care what kind of pollinators come into the garden. I want the hummingbirds, I want butterflies, I want bees as well. So we're just trying to attract them all. To start out with, we do have I believe this is about a 14 to 15-inch diameter container. And then we went ahead and we put the upsy-daisy down in the bottom so we didn't have to fill the entire container with soil. I did want to mention the container has 4 really big drainage holes, and so that's awesome. We're getting plenty of drainage, plus the upsy-daisy in the bottom gives us a little bit of airspace under there, but of course the upsy-daisy has drainage holes in that as well. So plenty of drainage here. We filled the container with our planting mix. Planting mix is a great soil to use in larger containers. It does hold on to water a little bit longer than your potting mixes, so just be aware. And I wanted to use planting mix because we did a combination of perennial plants plus annual plants, and the perennial plants we grow are grown in our planting mix. So that's why I use that soil today in this container garden. Leave about an inch of space, watering space is what we call that, towards the top of the lip or the lip of container, because when you water, you want the water to stay in, the soil to stay in that container. And sometimes when you're first watering and you fill up the container too high with soil, the container and the water bubbles out and the soil bubbles out too. So give it about an inch of a space from the lip that you're planting to, okay? The next thing is we added Osmocote as well. So I always add Osmocote green cap right to the first inch or two of soil, just slightly mix it in to the top layer there. I added probably about a quarter cup of green cap Osmocote to help all these plants through the season. And again, Osmocote, usually it depends on how much we're watering through the season in containers, but it usually lasts for about, I'd say about 6 to 8 weeks in a container, and then you'll need to reapply. Okay. As far as plant selection was concerned, we were really going for all different types of colors and shapes and sizes. And again, with pollinator gardening, it's always a good idea to have a diversity of plant materials. So your annuals, your perennials, your herbs, your trees and shrubs, they all help. And it's nice to have flowering all through the season, spring, summer, and into fall. So there's always an opportunity to get some nectar and some pollen, and so they can come back for more. The key here is we wanted to make sure that we had perennial plants that were going to bloom for a long time for us. And in case of the Nymphophia, and I'll show you that plant, in case of that plant, it doesn't necessarily bloom for the longest time, but the foliage was also a key factor here, and we used it as a thriller, okay? So this Nymphophia is in the Pyromania series from Proven Winners. It is, don't get me wrong, a long blooming Nymphophia, so we'll probably get a good 2 months out of the flowering here. And we started off, and you can just see the buds are just starting to really come out and just start to show some color here. I think the variety we have is called Hot and Cold. So it's going to be really pretty. Taylor will show you. It's like an orangey, white, and yellow that's on that same a red hot poker Nephofia flower. So we really enjoy this. Plus, the grassy foliage looks like a thriller grass that you would normally use in a container garden. And so when these flowers are spent, we can just cut the flower stems all the way to the base and have its grassy foliage show. So we thought this would be a great plant for a thriller. Other great plants that you could use in a pollinator garden for thrillers, you could use crocosmia. Crocosmia, again, has that kind of thick tropical foliage and texture, but it is lance-leafed, so it will make a nice thriller and show up. And this one, again, is just starting to produce buds. The buds have a little bit of color to them, but again, that grassy foliage will lend to that thriller aspect. I also thought that the milkweed would be really nice. So this is Asclepias incarnata. Cinderella is the variety, but a beautiful milkweed that again could be, you know, a good thriller, kind of stand up there and produce some flowering. Though the flowering doesn't last really long on the Asclepias too. So I thought, oh, Nephofia, grass, that's going to work really, really nicely there. So that was our one thriller that we chose for this pot. And whenever we talk about doing container gardening, one thriller is all you need. It's your focal point. It's really something that kind of stands up and out. And so that's why we chose that one. The next plant that I always choose and recommend choosing is going to be that spiller. In this case, we meaning Taylor and I, chose Peachy Keen verbena. Again, this is a superbena from Proven Winners. It's really popular. It has beautiful coloration to it, sometimes kind of a dark salmon to a light peach as it kind of fades in color. But I'm going to tell you the verbena family is really, really great for pollinators. Again, because it produces clustered flowers of small tubular, clusters of small tubular flowers. There we go. So again, this is going to be a plant that is really high in nectar, offers a lot with the long-tongued bees, the hummingbirds, and so on, the butterflies you'll see around verbenas as well. So verbena would be a really, really good option again for pollination and pollinator attractant. Another plant that we did, so we chose our thriller and our spiller, and I usually just start with one of each of those, and then we start to fill in. So of course, I wanted to use a daisy type flower or composite flower. Those are always going to be great landing pads for your bees, for your butterflies. And look at this lovely coneflower, okay? This coneflower or echinacea is known as soft red, artesian soft red, I believe, or red ombre. Taylor will correct me. And of course, I'm looking down into the cones here. I see plenty of pollen, again, plenty of nectar, beautiful orangey red rays that are going to continue to bloom for us throughout the season. And not only will we bring in the bees and the butterflies to this one, but the hummingbirds will be able to see this color and again, find other plants that will really provide them nectar, but also the birds. So we'll see finches and different types of birds coming in and taking the seed later on. So that's always really nice. Other daisy family that you could try, Coreopsis. Coreopsis is going to be a long blooming perennial type daisy plant that will do really, really nicely for you in containers. Once they start blooming, they really kind of keep on going. They bud and bloom throughout the summer season for us as a good perennial. And they just need a little bit of cutback here and there when they're not blooming. But other than that, they do really, really nice. So they're a really nice option. Also the cosmos. I love cosmos in the garden. And again, these plants will attract the butterflies, the bees, and the birds as well. So cosmos would be a nice daisy option. There's so many daisies available. You could use Shasta daisies, you could use osteospermum daisies, you could use, oh gosh, goes on and on and on, asters or whatever you'd like, okay? So the daisy family makes a really good filler here in this container. Another filler that we decided to use was the kufia, and you can see it in the far back corner here. This is Vermillionaire kufia. Any of the varieties will work. We loved, again, Vermillionaire is very popular. It's a great growing annual for us. Has a little bit of spiky habit, but has those cigar-shaped flowers. And boy, it is really, really popular with the hummingbirds as well. So just a cool kind of upright, a little bit more upright thriller there. It'll give us some color when the Nephofia is done blooming. So it kind of fills in and gives us that same color. So we like that in the back of the pot as a thriller. Another plant that we have here that we see later in the annual season in the garden centers are pentas. Pentas are a star-shaped flower. They do have 5 points on them on each flower. And again, they're born in clusters that have all of these tiny pentas flowers in that cluster. They come in all different colors, mostly reds, pinks, lavenders, whites, and purples. That's usually the color scheme that you see. But this fuchsia pink was so beautiful. And the pentas are really coming out and really, really looking gorgeous. And so again, a nice tubular flower that will attract a lot of the pollinators around. So you see butterflies on pentas, you see hummingbirds around pentas, you see bees around pentas. They're a really cool annual flower to have in your pollinator garden. In the center, I'm always talking about adding some foliage texture, of course. So we have spiky texture and we have oval leaf texture and things, but I also like to have some foliage color. So we decided to add this perilla. This is Magilla perilla. It is actually in the basil family, which also is in the mint family. So again, we're adding Magilla for that colored foliage, but also it will start to produce those spiky blooms that you see on basil. And so again, those blooms, you can take them off if you don't want that, if you just want it to provide the foliage effect. But again, for pollinators, it's nice to have those blooms develop. And then again, they love the mint family. So perilla does have a slightly fresh, herby smell to it when you do crush the leaves. And again, those flowers, those mint flowers are always going to be a great attractant. So look for perilla. It's a nice kind of addition to plant material, especially if you're looking for something a little bit more colorful foliage wise out there. When I was done, I just had one more spot that I wanted to fill. And so I chose the lantana. Again, lantana for us is an awesome annual that provides a lot of nectar for the bees and hummingbirds and butterflies. They all love it. What's wonderful about these lantana, this is Bloomify Rose. It has a lot of tropical colors mixed into it, but Bloomify series also just keep on blooming and blooming and blooming. They really never produce fruit. So that's nice. They always have a lot of energy, a lot of vigor to kind of keep on producing for you. So we love that Bloomify rose color as well. Again, small clusters of tubular flowers are always going to be very, very popular. And as far as I should say the deer are concerned, and I'm just going to mention it really quick, verbena is very good as far as deer resistance. Lantana is usually pretty good. The kufia, I see it get nipped every once in a while, but it is not bad at all. The grassy part of the Nephofia is going to stay wonderful for you. So if you have deer coming around, but just watch out. Sometimes they will nip the flowers off. So be aware of that. That might need a little bit of protection. The coneflowers usually, when they're smaller flowering like this one, they usually do okay. I will see a little bit of nibbling around the petals if they do come in close for this one. But again, usually does pretty well. And the perilla does pretty well too. So lots of benefits here with pollinator plants. And look at all of the other choices that we could find. We could use Cleome, another great annual for pollinators, deer resistant as well. We could use perennial goldenrod if we wanted to add more pollen to this arrangement. So this perennial goldenrod is actually a miniature. It's called Little Lemon. So that would be a nice little filler plant as well. What else do I have? Oh, salvia. So there's tons of salvia in the annuals. This is an annual type. It's called Rockin' Blue Suede Shoes, and it is absolutely gorgeous. The blue colors are very unique with the dark, almost black calyxes here. So very, very cool plant. All salvias the pollinators love. Again, it is a plant in the mint family. So as it comes out and blooms, you will see bees. You will see hummingbirds come to this, but it's usually not, again, the color that attracts them. It's going to be their tubular flowers. So any of your salvias, whether it's red or blue annuals, maybe you have a meadow sage that you grow as a perennial outside. Those are perennial salvias. They might be pink or white or blue or purple. They will do a nice job of attracting the pollinators too, okay? I think I touched on all the plants. There's so many more to offer. But again, if your intention is to grow a container garden for the pollinators, again, diversity, mixed color, lots of different types of flowers are always a really, really good idea. Tubular flowers along with clusters of small tubes along with daisy-like flowers, that's always going to help. So, and the mint family, of course, is always going to help. Here's something that I did want to mention before we close is that I have perennial plants in this container. Can I leave them in this container over winter? Absolutely. I can leave them outside, let the annual flowers die back. These perennials will also slowly but surely kind of die back. In late November, give this container a good watering and then pull it inside a cold garage or cold garden shed. Check on it once a month during the winter to make sure that there is moisture in the soil. If it feels dry to the touch or you don't feel any on your fingers, then go ahead and give it just a slight watering, a little sprinkling, okay? It doesn't need a lot of moisture over winter. Do that through the winter months. As the plants or the perennial plants, you start to see new growth. That's the signal that they will need to be cut back. And then you'll start to slowly but surely move them outside, acclimate them on nice days, put them in the shade first, and then part shade, and then full sun conditions as you go, okay? You can also, at the end of the season, the summer growing season, you can pop these perennials out and go ahead and plant them in the garden. September, October, great time to do that. Get them planted before the end of October though, because we still want those roots to establish well and the soil is still warm at that time, okay? But that would be a nice option. And then as these annuals kind of fade, you can go ahead and you can plant other fall interest plants, maybe some mums, maybe some cool colored celosia, maybe a different spike, a grass, or maybe, some corn. So whatever you like, or millet, let's say. So that would be a good option too. So kind of taking care of these perennials, two different ways if you want to, but that's always going to be a great way to utilize them in the container during the summer and then go ahead and protect them or plant them for next year and seasons to come down the road. Okay, folks, this is Pollinator DIY in a container, and enjoy your pollinators.